Is this thing on?
Are you ready, Matt?
You're listening to Box Office Bingers
with Matt Diaz and Ernesto Santos.
Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Box Office Bingers.
And the only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good dump.
He's my friend. I don't have friends. I got family.
I can do this all day.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
And Matthew, we are back.
We are.
It is the episode I think we look forward. I know I look forward to it every year. We are going over our best and worst of 2023, what we're looking at for 2024. But also, there is a movie we are reviewing this week. One that we like. We're almost putting it off. What movie is that, Matt?
That movie in question is Poor Things, a movie that's been getting a lot of attention, to say the least. We were kind of like about it because I feel very about weird movies. It's a real hit or miss depending on the message that they try to tell. But the movie is the most recently, as of a couple days ago, of the time of this recording, won 2 Golden Globes, one for Emma Stone for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical, and Poor Things won its second Golden Globe for Best Picture in a Musical or Comedy. So I think that's a pretty big one in my opinion. It also is nominated for 13 Critics' Choice Awards, which again at the time of recording will be coming up this Sunday. And the nominations just got dropped today, and it just got nominated for 2 Screen Actor Guild Awards. So I think, regardless how we feel about it in the coming minutes here, Ernesto, it's getting some accolades. I think that's safe to say. Again, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Defoe, and Rami Youssef, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, who also directed The Lobster, The Killing of a Scarce Deer, and The Favorite.
Sacred Deer, or at least that's what the
Sacred Deer. Yes. Killing of the Sacred Deer, which honestly, I like his weird style. I did, out of the 3 he's done so far, before we talk about Poor Things, I did like The Lobster. It was a very weird premise, but I was kind of into it. Do you know anything about that movie?
I don't.
Long story short, it's about people who go into like this facility because they are deciding to transform themselves into an animal. And the whole movie is about them making sure, like they're in this facility, making sure that that's what they want to do. Like,
well, after watching this movie, that totally tracks.
Yeah. The movie is also written by Tony McNamara.
McNamara.
Thank you. Who wrote The Favorite, Cruella, and the creator of Hulu series The Great, which makes a lot of sense for this movie. Based on the 1992 novel of the same name by Scottish writer Alistair Gray. Alistair, you see, this is where I'm here, because I can't pronounce.
I don't even know.
I can't pronounce names.
I don't even know if I did it right, but I was at least.
But I mean, it sounds better than what I did. I'll take that. I'll take whatever you did before whatever I did when it comes to pronouncing these names. But regardless, because we are going to be diving into the best of and worst of 2023 and looking ahead in 2024, we're going to dive right in to our spoiler review of Poor Things. Rest assured, next week we'll be diving into the entertainment news, as well as going over the winners of the Golden Globes and the winners of the Critics' Choice and the nominations of the Screen Actors Guilds and all the other entertainment news that may come within this time next week. We'll also be diving into what you're watching, but again, we're going to be diving into our spoiler review of Poor Things. Ernesto, your thoughts on the film?
So, can I be honest with you?
I would hope. Well, I would hope that you would be.
I actually enjoyed this movie. Like I did. I literally was like hate watching this movie for the longest time. I was like, man, this shit gonna suck. Matt's making me sit through this fucking weird ass movie, and it's like, well, you know what? I'm here. Let's just give this thing a shot. And
Sure.
I will say, it is weird. It most definitely is weird, but it hits on a lot of themes and ideas that are like you have this overlay of absurdity that's over the entire film, where it's like the comedy is absurd, like the production design and the costume design, it's very over the top, but I think it does that so that you're like, don't pay attention to this. What matters is what we're talking about, and kind of like the interconnect, like the conversations that we're having, and kind of the journey that we're going on. So like, because then I don't have to worry about that. Then I like literally suspension of disbelief. Whatever you're gonna put on the screen, I'm just gonna believe. Like, Dr. Godwin, when he played by Willem Defoe, when he's just sitting at the table and he just throws up that bubble. I was like, what the actual fuck is that? Like, what is that? I'm like, whatever. He's hooked up to some machine that's supposed to like help him. You don't question that. Do you question that? Not even for a second, because of all of the craziness that happens in this movie. I mean, it starts with Emma Stone, who is Bella, where Dr. Godwin finds her after she commits suicide, and then the mind of the child goes into the body of the mother. So it's basically like,
well, she was pregnant when she committed
correct.
suicide.
So the body, yes, the brain of the baby went into the body of Bella. So then Bella is reanimated by Dr. Godwin, who is he is basically like the myth of Dr. Frankenstein, you know, like the whole nature, which I really liked. It was like the whole nature versus nurture thing. Like could he teach her? And then we see a lot of how he influenced her throughout her entire life. I mean,
right.
But, you know, when they're in the lab in the opening scene, besides her grabbing the penises and flopping them around, when he's doing surgery, she wants to play, and he points her to her cadaver that's clearly you can see that it's hers, and she just goes to town. She takes a scalpel and just starts stabbing it in the eyes. It's just like stabby stab, but it shows that, you know, her interest like is whatever she's interested in, because she looks at him as like her dad, you know. But we see that in her journey, like in how all her experiences were shaping her identity. This movie kind of shows like the purpose of like enlightenment and like the evolution of enlightenment, like how it literally shows her birth from that child mind state, like to an actually, I mean, at the end of the movie, she's like a true, I would call her almost like a true intellectual. And then
absolutely, I
mean, we see her discover herself and her sexuality. Like that was a whole theme, like that female agency, that resiliency, like kind of going against the patriarch kind of thing. But it was done in a way that made sense, if that and like the whole sexuality thing is interesting because, you know, women are, I guess, especially in this world, are meant to be very similar to like traditional views in our society. Like
yes, absolutely.
Whereas women are meant to be proper, and we're and kind of like before that whole sexual revolution, where like, I mean, she literally just discovers how to masturbate, and then that becomes like one of the core thing,
the main through line,
a very main through line, and even a plot point at a certain point of this film. And I like even that in itself. So there's two other things that I think her whole time at the whorehouse, where she had her like sexual revolution, like literally that job and her going through that gave her the means to be able to learn. You know, we saw scenes of her going to learn at the school, to watch surgeries being done. She spent, when she wasn't having sex for money, she was reading and learning and like really growing, once again, like enlightening herself, growing her
like the music. So like it started off and then it had that music and then it just went weird and we just see her fall off the terrace and it's black and white and then she's just yelling out nonsense and Willem Defoe is burping bubbles and
That
and all
burping
this.
bubble
I
shit
like,
was weird.
and then I was like, damn, this is 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm gonna hate this. But then, to your point, with all the themes you were just describing, once you look past all the weird, because it took a minute for you to get adjusted to that.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get adjusted to it, it's kind of like, all right, this is what it is. You can move on from that. Once you move on from the weirdness of it, it just becomes normal. And then we can actually see the story that they're telling. And it's a really good story.
Yeah.
It's like I was quite surprised with you of like, wow, this is weird, but I like it. And then what's weird is that I like the burping bubble is like, well, I like to call it. When he did it the first time, I was like, damn, this is gonna be a long movie. But then when it happened like the third time, I laughed. I was like, that's funny. I don't know why now it's funny, but like I think I got the joke, whatever it was. It is like it's so random.
Yes.
It's funny now. But through Emma Stone's journey, I loved her performance. Once she started getting basically the beginning was a little rough for me. 'Cause I'm trying to figure out. But once she discovered herself, when she learned how to masturbate, that's when she's like, to me, that's when the movie's like, oh, okay. So now, because then the conversation changed.
Yeah.
From that. She was like, "Hey, come go look at this. Look what I discovered.
Look at this
like
shit. Why isn't we doing this all the time?"
Yeah, exactly. That's the part that was hilarious to me. She's like, and then when she ran away with Mark Ruffalo, she was like, "Why don't everybody just have sex all the time? Why are we just like fucking every single minute of the day?" And then she's like, "I'm good now. Let's do it again." And Mark Ruffalo's like, "It doesn't work that way for us, and we got to do this and that. You got to be proper." And then you see him change as an individual. Like the more you spend time with Mark Ruffalo, he's a player, but then now he's just a sad little man,
Yes.
just kind of going through that, and you see that through like Emma Stone and through the performance of Bella had this draw that grabbed a lot of people's attention. And what I loved about it the most, I wrote it down here. Yeah, her performance is just like very blunt and brash.
Yes.
It's just
no
like,
filter.
No filter, exactly. It's just like, it is what it is. This is what I'm feeling. And like women of that time, even though this is like a made up land for the most part, but you get the idea of what time period they were kind of going for.
That Victorian era.
Exactly. And it's like they're not supposed to do that. She was reminded multiple times that it's like, that's not ladylike. That's not polite. That's not part of the society. And she was outside of those norms every step of the way. Mm-hmm. And you can understand how she grew because she had a child's mind, but she grew and she learned rapidly through that time, as we can see. Because I can only imagine it was only like a few months or something that she was in there, maybe a couple of years. It's hard to tell the timeline of this movie, but yeah, toward the end, and when we see that she turned her, I guess, ex-fiance at this point into like a goat, I was like, that's divine justice right there, I guess.
I had a different thought of how the ending was going to go. I thought she was going to put I thought it was going to go full circle, and I thought she was going to put William Defoe, Dr. Godwin. I thought she was going to put his brain into him, because it would be, for me, it was like full circle for
that would have been a good
because
ending.
he was dying and she died, and it would have been a very,
Right.
I felt like it would have been a very full circle moment.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, I think that would have been a really good ending. But honestly, I was quite surprised by this. And honestly, like throughout all the movies we've been reviewing so far, is the ones that were a little bit skeptical on. For you, it was Poor Things. For me, it was Maestro. And, happy to report that, like, even though I like Poor Things a lot more than Maestro, but like both of them were not like
terrible.
We expected them to be terrible movies, and like this is pure Oscar bait. And then we watched them as like, okay, Maestro, yeah, a little Oscar baity, but there was some elements there that you can understand why it's being talked about for the reasons it's being talked about. And the same reason for Poor Things. Poor Things, like, there's a lot there, and I give credit to like Emma Stone for really bringing that character to life. And honestly, there was one moment in that movie where I think she I think it was right before she gave away all the money to the poor. And Mark Ruffalo just kind of came up to her, and there was just like a long moment of silence.
But you could feel it in his performance. Just by the look on
Yes.
his face, you could see him going through the mental process of like, he's like, you fucking God. It's like, oh, I just can't believe you just did that. Okay, how am I gonna deal with this? It's funny you brought that up because I think that whole scene, so when she goes to Alexandria and she has that encounter with the poor, that is such I think that's such a turning point and such a pivotal part of the film, because now she has this person who's supposed to be her friend,
right,
who shows her this horrific scene, and then later tells her that he did it to be cruel. But then she goes back and has this encounter with Mark Ruffalo where she wants to give away his money, and because she doesn't feel any need for it because like we don't need it, like we have, like we're rich, and I think that is what sparked the change in her, because then we go to Paris, and then she has her like sexual revolution where she learns about the whorehouse, and then what was really interesting even there is like that whole dynamic she had with the house mother. Because I felt like, she was trying to like put her in this solidarity, like we have this togetherness, but then also I'm going to sell your body to this man.
Yes.
Like you're going to cut me off a piece of how much you're getting for this guy having sex with you. But I'm with you. Like we're in this together. But I guess, when she's looking around and trying to find money, like that was like to her, in her no filter brain, like it was just a very logical decision. Like, I need money, I'm poor, I don't have anything else going on, like, oh, I can make this money and I can do something that I already really enjoy doing. I mean, and I think that was for me that was the setup. Like literally the massive amount of nudity and sex that's in this movie, I think plays into this thing right here. So her going into this like, oh well, she's obsessed with sex and she's learning about society, and this is her first encounter of AKA making money at something you're good at. Like, so then she's like, well, I can just do this thing, I can make money, I can read, but that's when we start to see the turn in her character. I feel like that's when she really, really starts to grow.
Yeah, but and you can going back to when she gave the money to the poor people, and then ultimately, society stole that money, never went to the poor. You can tell that the people who went to the ship didn't even give it to them. But I think what's great about that is that you can see her learning through every step of the way, right? You can tell that even back before she left, is like, these people are trying to control me and they don't want me to leave this spot. And so now you have this guy who's telling me to show me the world, and then I'm going to go with Mark Ruffalo. And then now you're with him. Now you're seeing the world and you're discovering other things about it. And then going back to the scene where she gave the money away, it's like, she didn't know the concept of money. She just knew that they had to go to these nice places and do these nice things. They didn't realize there were consequences for those actions. And she's like, yeah, no, I realized the rationale of that. I can understand why, I can understand how we got to Paris and how we got kicked out, because you need money to do this. That's noted for next time. Now she's like, okay, now I can fuck for money. I'm good at that. I like doing that, and you're paying me for it. All right, let's do that. And then I love when she came back, because she had the sex with the one guy and came back and was like,
lots of weird guys.
Lots of weird guy, but the first guy, and then she came back to Mark Ruffalo and was like, I got this, like, I don't know, whatever treat that she came back with like a solution to like their problems. And is like, look, I just found out I can do sex for money. They're willing to do that. We need money. This is something that I'm good at. Here's a treat that I got from this money. And I realized that I don't really need you anymore, because I can do this and that, and you're the source of money and all that stuff. And he was just obsessive. And then she's like, I'm going to do my own thing. And within that process, you see her learn about society for the most part. And then you can see her like through every suitor that she has. She either makes propositions or just given to whatever they wanted to do. But you can tell, but in a way, you can see that she is learning with every encounter that she has. Yes. And that's something that was quite an interesting journey to go through, because she never really did the same thing twice. and she never made the same mistake twice.
Ooh,
It was always
that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, she's always learning from everything that she's been doing. And so like even she spoke out and saying like, well, can't the women decide? Because they'll be more pleasurable for the men and the women if the women decide, not the men decide. And then the house mother had to put her in their place. Like, that's not how that works. It's like, all right.
That's not how society
well,
works.
Now,
like, if we don't get paid,
exactly.
and
so
she
then
had to show her the baby. Like, this is why I'm doing this.
And then you get to, like, some of the scenes, and she was like, okay, this is how the arrangement's going to go. I'm going to tell you, you're going to tell me a personal story. I'm going to tell you a joke, and then we get to know each other a little bit, and then we can fuck. And it's like, and then, like, there was, like, that moment in the movie, and then you can see that going through. And then I think what's great is that when we get to the end of the movie and then she's back with her ex-fiance, you can tell that she didn't really want to be with him. To your point, you just want to see the reasons why she left. Like the original person that was in her body. Why did she leave? And we discover that very quickly why she left, and had like the horrible situation that she was in, to wanting even to kill herself with a child inside her as well. And so it's kind of crazy that it, in a way, it kind of came back full circle, because she felt trapped again, and she was like, I'm not doing that. We're not doing this song and dance again. I know what this is, and this ain't it.
And what you kind of made, I think you, or at least you made me realize, what also happens in that moment is that she realizes is that Bella and whatever her, it's not even listed on here, Victoria, whatever her other name was before she killed herself, that they are that they are actually two different people. And she does mention that, but I think that moment is when she realizes that, oh, there is no connection. Like, I am not that person. I am Bella Baxter. Yeah.
And I think, like, again, going back to, once you get past the weirdness of it, you really get to appreciate, and it really lingers on how many different things. It's like, even I wrote down, like, exploring the independence of being a woman.
Yes.
Like, learning everything about that. Like you know, not a lot of people, not a lot of women discover who they are, who they want to be, and you know, and you see the end result of this, and at the end of the day, she comes out victorious at the end of the day. Like, she was at that. I think when we leave her, she's at the highest point of where she wanted to be. Like, she went through all of this journey, but then she comes back with everything that she learned to come back into the same house, to then marry the guy that she was gonna marry anyway.
Yep.
But in a weird way, she had to go through the bad to appreciate the good that she already had. But it wasn't good then, which we understood, but it's good now, because now she has an understanding and control of what that situation is.
What I think is really interesting about that is, I think that Max is his name, played by Rami Youssef. I think what's interesting about their relationship is, I think in the end, when she's explaining to him her adventures, and I think even the point, you know, they talk about all the men that she's been with, I think that is a reference point to her interaction she had with Duncan earlier in the movie, when she tells him about how she had sex with that guy, and his pride is so hurt that he can't even listen to the conversation. Whereas when you come back later with Max, and he's like, it's whatever, like, that's your past. Like, I can't, like, I'm not going to judge you for your past. Like, right. You're with me now. That was like, you told me, like, you know, because I felt like, because she was so honest with him in the upfront, it almost like was teaching her like true love. Like, really, it's like, oh, like that in itself was interesting to her, because she was able to learn from that experience on how these two men completely take the same information. It's the best. Like, she's telling them the same thing, and look how differently they react. Like, this guy must really care about me as a person, as opposed to this guy who just wanted me for my body. And for for me being different, like, I was just a thing for him to play with.
Yeah, but not only that, it's a thing that he wanted to control. Like, even outside of the sex part, she was like making friends with the people on the ship, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm making friends with these people. And then they started. I just thought it was funny. It's like they started talking about, like, do you have like, she was talking to the older woman, and she's like, when was the last time is this your sex partner? Do you have sex with this man? She goes, no, I haven't had sex in 20 years. She goes, 20 years?
It's like, why?
What is wrong with you? She's like, do you at least masturbate?
She's like, no.
Said,
why?
Yeah, it was really funny. And then like you see Mark Ruffalo, it's like it's just you and me. Like you shouldn't be conversating with other people, and you can even see that when like she is learning from the individuals on the ship, and like he's like Mark Ruffalo's like, what are you doing reading? You shouldn't be reading. Like what are you doing that for? And then so much so that he sees her reading and then throws the book out, and then the elderly woman gives her the same book, and then he throws out the book again.
What a bitch move.
Yeah, I know, right?
As soon as he did it, I was like, what a little bitch. Like, why would you just, like, if you're upset, fucking walk away. He's going to be a little bitch and throw both their books out. You feel better now? You feel a lot better about yourself?
This movie, it was actually pretty funny in a lot of parts that I wasn't expected to actually get into the comedy. And I will say that I like him as Bruce Banner in the Marvel movies, and I like him in other movies. But I've never for me, he was never a standout in any of the movies that I seen. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like there's nothing that really stood out in his performance that outside from the movie itself. This was the first time I was like, wow. That's a standout performance from Mark Ruffalo.
Absolutely. Like he should be like, I don't know. This performance is up there for him. Like it's definitely one of my top. One of my top performers. I'd have to look to see if there's anything that would. But there's nothing off the top of my head that I think would top this performance. I think he played into his role so well. I mean, they all did. I mean, the cast. And I was reading, I think it was a Variety article, and they were just saying that how fun it was to work on the set. That this was just a fun. Fun movie to work on, and I think that you can 100% see that throughout the film. Like you can feel the love that they had for it. Everybody played their part. Like you can nobody was phoning it in for this movie. I mean, no. I was here for it. I think the way the film uses humor and satire to kind of showcase these serious themes, I thought that was super interesting. Like the how funny and absurd it is throws you off and kind of makes you focus on the serious themes that it's talking about. But it does it in a digestible way that you're able to laugh and also it laughs, but then you go, oh yeah, oh. That is wow, Mark Ruffalo is being a little bitch right here.
But yeah, no, I think you kind of nailed it on the head. It made you laugh where it needed to be, but also there were a lot of moments where it was like there was humor but it was like on the surface it was lighthearted, but when you really think about it, it's pretty deep.
Yes,
and it was also very what did you say? You just said it. Digestible.
Yeah. I mean, you can even see it in once again that pivotal moment in the movie where she gives away the money and the sailors are gonna give it to the poor, even though they really take it. They really take it for themselves. Look how Duncan, Mark Ruffalo's character, is treating the staff on the boat.
The staff, yeah.
Like he's yelling at them, and even when the guy is sitting there and she goes, "Oh yeah, I gave it away," and then there's that silence, and he's like, just get out of here." You could tell the guy was like, "Yeah, bitch." Like that's right. That's right. We don't have your money. Like nobody here stole your money. And then because of how he treated him, I'm sure he went right to the captain and go, well, let's check this guy out. And then he found out that he had no money. So guess what? You're getting off at the next port.
Yeah. And I thought, honestly, like, even like the captain's reasoning is like, you're going to be off on the next port and you feed the crew rations while we get there. I was like, damn. He got him good. I just looked it up quickly, and he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for the Golden Globes, did not win. And then he was also nominated, I believe, for the critics as well. Yeah, the Critics' Choice for this year for Best Supporting Actor. And also just he's been nominated for 3 Oscars in the past. One for The Kids Are All Right for Best Supporting Actor, Foxcatcher for Best Supporting Actor, and Spotlight for Best Supporting Actor. So I feel like he is in some tough competition, not gonna lie, for the supporting actor spot. One that comes to mind who also won the Golden Globe, and I think it's well deserved, is Robbie Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to beat. But I do think that the nom is there for him. 100%. I think Mark Ruffalo should definitely get the nom, because to me, I think this was one of his best performances that I've seen him in a movie. And also Emma Stone, again, who just won the Golden Globe for her performance in Poor Things. I saw the Golden Globes the night before I saw this, and once I saw the movie, I was like, I can 100% see why she won the award, because she did all of the heavy lifting in that movie. If, like, for you to go from, like, her acting like an adolescent, basically a baby, to now gradually growing into this person who is learning and into this intellectual, that's not easy to do, let alone for us to, like, visually understand and visually see that if throughout her performance. So again, did a great job. But Ernesto, your final thought.
It's absurdly funny, and I was pleasantly surprised of that, how much I enjoyed it, and how much I was able to, like, extract from it as far as, like, themes and just, like, even just things to talk about, like things that the movie talks about that kind of lingers with you even after you watch it. So I really enjoyed it. I honestly, I give it a 4 out of 5. Maybe even a 4.5. Nah, I'm gonna go with a 4. I'm gonna go 4.
4?
I'm gonna go 4.
Go with a 4?
I'm going with 4.
I'll meet you with the 4.
Okay.
Because I was also torn with a 4, 4.5. I feel like there were just some elements in there that I didn't like. I wasn't over the moon with it to give it the 5 out of 5, but I did really enjoy it, and I think because I was so pleasantly surprised with it, to your point, and the acting killed it. The cinematography I wasn't that big of a fan of.
Yeah, it was
there was a lot of fish. A little weird, yeah. I feel like it was unnecessarily weird. It was being weird just to be weird. So like I couldn't really connect with the cinematography. So yeah, I can agree with you on the 4. But yeah, it's a movie I wasn't expecting to be good. Well, a lot of people were saying it was good, but that doesn't mean for us as the viewer, as the common folk, to feel like it was going to resonate with audiences, and it actually did. And that was come to my surprise. And the performances nailed it. Willem Defoe, Mark Ruffalo, Emma Stone, all nailed it. Like, they should all be nominated for Oscars for their performance. I can understand why it's being there for Best Picture. I can even see it winning for Best Adapted Screenplay, at the very least. Best Director, I think that's also all in the conversation. Even production design, costume design.
Absolutely.
It's all there. You can even go as far as makeup if you want to.
I mean, look at William Defoe, his all his prosthetics, and the machine for his bubble thing.
The bubble burps.
The bubble burps.
And then, like, honestly, the part that gets me was the pop. It was like,
it's not even. It's the pause, and it's like the non, how do you, what's the best way to say it? Like, the fact that nobody's, like, talking about it. It's like, it's just a thing. It's just a thing that happens.
But yeah, I feel like I'm happy to report that this was a good movie, because one, I didn't feel like I wasted my time with it.
Correct.
And then from there, it's like, all right, maybe the Oscars knows a thing or two. This isn't just Oscar bait. These are actually good movies being considered for the Best Picture award. So that's also happy to see, because sometimes you just walk in there, it's like, another Oscar bait. That's what it is.
It's kind of how I felt like. That's kind of how I felt with Maestro. I felt like Maestro I enjoyed. There are a lot of things to enjoy about it. Whereas
Absolutely.
This one, but it was more Oscar baity. Whereas this one was good, but wasn't as Oscar baity as I thought it was going to be.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. So there you go. That's our spoiler review on Poor Things. A pleasant surprise. Yeah. Definitely go out to the theater and watch it. It's in limited release, and I say limited because it was not in my favorite theater, like I mentioned earlier, but that's okay. We move past it. This movie was worth going to the theater that's closest to me.
And plus, if it does get nominated for the Oscars, I believe AMC and Regal, they re-release whatever is being nominated for the Oscars. They re-release out into theaters. So
yeah. So this, I mean, again, if the Oscar nom is there, there's definitely going to be more showings of this movie for sure. But yeah, pleasant surprise. We both give it a 4 out of 5 stars. If you have a chance, go to the theater and watch it. It is Searchlight Pictures. So maybe in a few weeks, if you don't want to go to the theater, it'll most likely be on Hulu at some point. But there you go. That's our spoiler review on Poor Things. So now we're going to be moving on to our best and worst of 2023, a moment that makes us catalog everything we watched for the year of 2023 worth it now. This is the episode that we're literally building this up for roughly about 30 minutes to an hour of conversation.
Yes, exactly. We have a couple of different ones we're going to hit. We're going to hit our 5 best TV, our 5, and I don't want to say 5 worst. We're going to call them our disappointments. Just things that, because there are people who enjoyed them. So we're going to call those our 5 disappointments, and then we each have our top 10 movies. So I'm going to kick it off. We have my top 5 TV. I have The Last of Us, which is currently on Max, based off the video game. It was fantastic. It was a hit when it dropped. Painkiller on Netflix, kind of showcasing the opioid crisis. I thought it was really, really well done. Really well done. Really good TV. Same thing with Love and Death that was on Max, which is a limited series that is. It already has another limited series on Hulu called Candy with Jessica Biel. I believe so. But Elizabeth Olsen, Jesse Plemons, I mean, they were absolutely fantastic. And Shrinking, that was one of my favorites. Even coming into the year, it released very early. It released early of 2023, and it still sticks with me now. It's just fantastic television. Rounding it out, I have Succession, the final season. Expert writing in television. Like, it's just an absolute fantastic TV show. And I'm going to give an honorable mention. This was, which is Fall of House of Usher. Even though it didn't necessarily crack the top 5, like, it was very hard to not have it up here in my top 5. If I had to switch it out with anyone, it was between Love and Death and Fall of House of Usher, and it was a really, really hard. I'm sorry, Last of Us. It was a really, really hard decision between the two of those on which I was gonna pick.
I was actually surprised to not see Fall of the House of Usher on here.
Another honorable mention would be the Bear season 2. I mean, that was once again fantastic TV. All right, so let's go to Matt's top 5 TV.
Yeah, your honorable mentions are my top 5. My top 2 right there. My favorite season of a show I've seen in such a long time. It's The Bear season 2. What a fantastic season! I know that it was in your honorable mention, but I got to put it up there. Like, if I'm putting in any order, this is my number 1. Right here. It's like I did not feel as much as I felt about any TV show this year than I did about The Bear. Every episode was perfectly curated to just give us like this. It's I don't even know the word to describe it. It's what's the word? Not humble, but it's what's the word I'm looking for, Ernesto? It's.
When I think about The Bear season 2, I just think about how raw and real it was. Like, especially the Christmas dinner episode was just probably the best episode of television I've ever seen in my entire life. And Matt, I want to make an adjustment. I want to change 2 of mine. The more I think about it, I go, I'm thinking, like, I cannot believe I didn't put those in my top 2. So
it's okay though. You made a decision. Not to say it's the end all be all.
No, it's not.
Great television.
I mean, I'm telling you right now that I'm going to change it. So when what you saw is going to be, it's going to be, it's kind of a lie. So I'm going to switch out Love and Death and Last of Us for The Bear and Fall of House of Usher. I mean, I
Wow.
have to. I mean, the more I think about it. Sorry, guys, we were in a rush making our graphics, and I was like, all right, let me put these in here. And then after I made it, I was like, I can't believe that I forgot those two. And I'm gonna have to. They're gonna have to be. I'm throwing them up there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is what it is. You beat the graphic. You're going against the graphic that you made for a list of yourself.
Yeah. I told my past self to go fuck themselves. Said, hey, dumbass, you were wrong.
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, The Bear season 2 is beautiful television. It's so wholesome. That's the word I was looking for. It's so wholesome. Yeah, I think it is wholesome. I think there's just a lot of because it's so real, and you feel for these characters. And for me, that my favorite episode was Forks. Is when the brother was at the restaurant, and he you see. To me, that episode was how it feels to have a passion or discover a passion to want to do something. It was beautiful. House to Fall of the Usher, Mike Flanagan's best work. The fact that this show and multiple of Mike Flanagan's shows are not up for Emmys and Golden Globes and all of this stuff is a crime against television.
100% agree. It's wrong.
Oh my God. He came out swinging with this one. He took the best of his stuff that he's done throughout his years, compiled it into a house, and made it fall and called it Usher, because that's
just just really well made television.
Superb acting. Mark Hamill killed it in his role, and so did everybody else. It's it's great to see the cast of characters he keeps bringing back, and they're just growing with every show that he's done. Netflix lost a expert at his craft because now he's off to Amazon. So now, needless to say, I'm keeping my Amazon subscription. I wasn't planning on losing it, but I'm keeping it regardless.
You're gonna use it a little bit more.
I'm gonna use it now, a little bit more now. Yeah. So House to Fall of the Usher. Shrinking, I share the same sentiment to you. This was the funniest comedy I've seen all year. And this was earlier on. This movie, this show came out January. And it's had the staying power to just stay up in the top. The other show that I would give credit to, it was not in my top 5, not even my top 10, but I'll put up Platonic with Seth Rogen.
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah, I did. I like that one.
I got the same vibe from that, but Shrinking, I mean, it was just hilarious. Downright, some great comedy. What a comedic performance from Jason Segel is also a comedic actor, but Harrison Ford, what
a surprise.
What a performance.
What a surprise
from him. So good. Yeah, couldn't praise that show more on Apple TV Plus. Loki season 2. It's a show. It's a show that I always I had a great time watching. I liked the first season. The second season brought that same intrigue, but that ending, man, one of the best endings of a TV show I've seen all year. The fact that it turned myself around for not only the show but for the character. I felt so much emotion for how this show ended, and I don't want to give anything away because I know Ernesto hadn't seen it yet. But it's such an earned moment for a character we've been following for almost 14 years. 2011, so 12 years that we've been seeing him on screen as Loki. And what a way to just define what this character is and give it his moment. And it almost felt like that this is a pair season 1 and 2. Fantastic. And I wouldn't say that everything about this show is fantastic, but when you nail a character ending that much, I give it all the praise.
And I have to agree with you. I literally have the ending left. We have 20 minutes left of the finale, and I have to tell you, the finale episode, the whole season, it's been so enjoyable. It's been so good.
Yeah.
I've really, really enjoyed it. I can't wait to finish it.
Yeah, and a show that I haven't talked about on the show yet because it was gonna be my what you watching for I guess next week, but it cracked my top 5 of how much I enjoyed it. and it was The Morning Show season 3. What a huge improvement from season 2. I thought season 1 was good, and then season 2 took a little bit of a dip, and I was like, oh, I guess we're, it's coming down. Like, sometimes you see those shows where it's like, we had a good first season and we just couldn't quite get there in the second season. And I think the third season might be the end and it might not hit the same strides. But boy, was I wrong. I'm watching that thing on the edge of my seat. Ooh. Like, this is great television. And the fact that it was also surrounding a newsroom. So we already have that connection there already. And it hits, it's like big topics, big themes, episode after episode, and then if it's not doing that, it's giving us like really hard-hitting drama within the story itself. And 10 episodes later, I was like, damn.
Well,
that's a season.
We'll have something to talk about because it'll be in my what you're watching for next. I don't know if I'll be done, but I'm definitely enjoying it. I think we're either 3 or 4 episodes in. The big leak has happened. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I really like John Hammond this season so far. It's like they just brought a couple of good elements in that to just reignite this show that I felt like I didn't have in season 2. So I give it a lot of credit for that. And also I did write where is it? I do have a few honorable mentions just to say. We have Gen V, which we talked about in the past for the Boys spinoff. Dave season 3, the show continues to kill it. These shows were better in my opinions this time around, but last year season 2 was in my top 5. But season 3 still brought it. We had The Last of Us, which was also a great television series. We also have Beef, which I really enjoyed, and the ending was the only thing that kind of brought it down a little bit for me. But for the most part, I enjoyed the journey for what it was. And Jury Duty, my final honorable mention, was also hilarious to watch. So yeah, there you go. That's our best of TV.
It was really hard to curate this list. I'm not gonna lie. There was lots of good TV this time around.
There really was.
Well, but there's good. Well, remember, I'm not gonna say the bad. We have our disappointments. So these are my top.
A lot of disappointments.
These are my top 5 disappointments. I have The Marvels, which was I just was really just was expecting more. The Little Mermaid 2023. I liked Bailey. Excuse me,
Halle Bailey.
She
or Halle Berry. No,
Halle Bailey.
Halle Bailey or yeah.
She was absolutely phenomenal. I think her rendition of Part of Your World is phenomenal. It was incredible. But the movie just to be honest, it felt like a soulless remake. Looking into like Flounder's eyes, like it just, like the way they did his CGI was just creepy. And it was just a lot of weird CGI, bless you. And it was like like the water was like clear, but you could see, it just threw me off. I'm like, especially, a good comparison is that like, I really enjoyed the underwater of Aquaman, whereas I did not enjoy any of the underwater stuff for The Little Mermaid. So comparatively, like these two underwater movies, like Aquaman did it way better, and it was just, when you watch it in The Little Mermaid, it's just off-putting. Obviously, The Flash, I mean, you took my favorite Batman, and you just did things I just didn't really enjoy. I mean, and then the story was weird, and then all the weirdness surrounding Ezra Miller, and then the fact that none of the DCEU movies matter anyway, it's just very off. It's just very off-putting. And we have Haunted Mansion, where I just wanted more from it. It just seemed like it's like the movie is marketing for the ride. Like it's more marketing for the ride than it is movie. And I think that's really my problem with it. And then, the nonsense that was Ant-Man 3 and the Quantumania. And an honorable mention I'm going to say is Indiana Jones 5, because it was a terrible ending for such an iconic character. And then they made you sit through 2.5 hours of it.
If not longer. I agree with you. And I think the only one I don't agree with you on is Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, I know.
I think I enjoyed that. I think I enjoyed that movie a little bit more than you did. But what was funny is that I was telling Megan my top movies, and she was like, "Here's my top three." It's like, I would love to hear your top three. And she goes, her top three was Barbie, no surprise.
No surprise.
The Iron Claw was in her top three, and The Haunted Mansion rounded out her top three. And I was like, she really, really enjoyed the movie. And maybe for me, that was also part of the experience. We had a good time discovering the Easter eggs of that movie. But I can also understand why it was a little bit of a disappointment, because the story was definitely the one that lacked the most. And also, the characters didn't really feel like, it just felt random. Those characters. But yeah, everything else, I completely understand why these are disappointments. Moving over to my disappointments, I share the same sentiment with Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Those two movies were one of the biggest, one of the most anticipated movies of the year. Of like, it promised so much, and it delivered on none of it. And I don't know how you do that. You were going to introduce Kang to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and come out swinging. And even though the best part of that movie was probably Kang, the story just made absolutely no sense. And then also, even furthering that, with everything that happened with Jonathan Majors, this movie just becomes more of a disappointment, because we're not going to get anything out of what this movie even introduced. The whole point of this movie of existing to introduce such a big villain, and now it doesn't seem like it's going to be coming out with anything.
And this was before all of the news came out. And this was before everything happened.
Yes. Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. This was one of the movies I was most anticipated to watch, because James Mangold, Indiana Jones, what can you do wrong? How can you do worse than the Crystal Skull? And you managed to be really close to that. And this is a terrible way to end the character. And it's by far my biggest disappointment this year, for sure, because it felt like it was a movie that could do no wrong. You made the blueprint with Logan. Just do that again. And they didn't do that, which was very, very disappointing. And then the next two, Joyride and Dream Scenario, I feel like I'm disappointed with those movies, because I feel like after watching the trailer and what I anticipated these movies were going to be, it just didn't land for me on what I thought these movies were. And that was just what I saw from the trailer and what I perceived. And it's just one of those expectations things that you walk in there expecting one thing, you walk out and being like, wow, what the hell was that? And the last disappointing thing was The Mandalorian season 3. I feel like it's hard for you to come back from a high of a season 2, like, and I envy Loki if they decide to go for another season, because that's a hard season to come back from after season 2, and I feel like The Mandalorian, after coming back from a high of season 2, you gave a season 3, and to me, it meant nothing. It just fell flat. Most of those episodes didn't really go anywhere. It wasted space, a lot of filler, and yeah, that season ended how it started. Not much going on there. So again, disappointed with that for sure.
Well, that's unfortunate. Especially, that's kind of interesting especially now that we just heard news that they're going to be coming out with a movie.
Yes, and I'm actually excited for the movie, and we'll dive into this more next week when we dive into the entertainment news. But I'm actually looking forward to a Mandalorian and Grogu movie, because honestly, I feel like you can tell that story better in a movie setting rather than a TV series. Clearly, I mean, like, you were doing fine on TV, but after season 3, if you want to condense that story into 2 hours, by all means, do that, because I feel like it could be a lot better. And also, you're probably giving more money to produce that than you did the TV show. So with the bigger budget, we can probably see some really cool shit.
True. Well, before we move on to the movies, Matt, I'm going to take a quick pee break. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right. I'm refreshed and I'm back. So when we look at my 10 through 6, we have Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, No Hard Feelings, Elemental, and Guardians 3. All have been fantastic, fantastic movies. Anatomy of Fall was a surprise foreign film that I didn't think that I was going to another one that I didn't think that I was going to enjoy. And I would share the same sentiment with the Holdovers, where like I was like, well, I guess I'm going to watch this movie, and then I ended up really, really enjoying them. The No Hard Feelings was just a comedy I wasn't expecting to be so good, and I was just pleasantly surprised. Same thing with Elemental, where like as an animation, I was like, well, maybe Pixar hasn't really been hitting it for me lately, and this was just a surprise hit. I mean, I loved it so much. It was so good. And then Guardians 3. I mean, what a great closeout, an amazing send off for James Gunn there.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because we are kind of very similar to. I mean, it's actually crazy that at the end of the day, our 3 of our favorite TV shows end up being the same. Well, I mean, you switched it. You switched the
understandably so though.
Understandably so. So like, but out of the 3 out of the 5, we shared 3. It just goes to show we have very similar opinions when it comes to a lot of the things that we review. And it's not meant to be that way. It's just we've been doing this for 4 years. Eventually, we just start getting a similar taste in what we like to watch. But we don't know what these are until we see it at the beginning of every year. But yeah, I agree with you with everything you put on that list. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
My top 6 through 10, I'm putting the Iron Claw as number 10. It's the reason why it's number 10 and not higher up, and I feel like it's the only reason why it's not higher up is because it's not a movie I think I can enjoy again. It's a movie that I think I can see myself watching again, but like I'm gonna feel sad at the end of the day. It's like it's sad and hopeful, and we had a deep, long discussion on an episode 200 that we did last week, but it was up there for one of the best movies I've seen all year. It's such a surprise performance from Zac Efron, and a career best from him, and it told a great story about brotherhood. And yeah, I mean, we gave it high praise. We gave it 5 out of 5 stars last week, but yeah, what a great movie. Gran Turismo, number 9. What an adrenaline rush that movie is. Such a great story. I think it's a by the books underground sports movie, but it works. It works. It's told such a great story in between, and I was invested with all these characters. David Harbour nailed it with that like rugged performance that he did, and like this tough love type of like persona. I really enjoyed it. And it's a movie like 100%. I'll go back and rewatch it. I had a great time watching this. Number 8, Barbie. It's one of the biggest movies of the year, and there's a reason for it. And it was just a fun movie to watch, and it had a lot of great moments in there as well. One of the few movies. It's funny that we counted. I saw 10 movies in the theaters with Megan. Barbie was one of them. The Iron Claw was also one of them. But like I had a good time watching with her. A great movie theater experience. It's no question why this movie is being recognized all over the award circuit. But yeah, had a great time watching that. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, number 7. I feel like this movie would be higher on my list if it wasn't for the cliffhanger of the ending, because I think one of our biggest knocks of the movie was that it's not a complete movie.
Yeah. It's listed as a part 1, and we talked about it in our review.
Right.
But whereas like comparatively Mission Impossible Part 1, it is still a complete film. Even though it is a part 1,
yes.
It's still a complete film. And then you look at Across the Spider-Verse, and it's not. Like, you literally stop dead in the middle.
You do, and now we have to wait even longer to see the conclusion of this movie, because they delayed it. But even with that, I marveled. I was in awe of all of the animation that was in this movie. I was actually quite surprised, and we'll talk about this more next week, that The Boy and the Heron won over Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse for Best Animated Feature at the Golden Globes. I was like, wow. I mean, I understand. I get it. I get it. But like, Spider-Man, did you see those? Did you see what they put in that movie? It's a lot in there. And I just was great for a fan of animation. they did a fantastic job with that movie. And the same goes for my number 6 pick, which is Elemental. It was funny because we were like a number off with this movie between the two of us. But yeah, Elemental. What a great comeback from Pixar. Like to your point, it's Pixar was a studio that was like the movies were fine, but they just weren't hitting it the way they used to. And this movie was like return to form, a great original story with a deep message in there. All great for the whole family. The animation was like not as neat as it typically is with Pixar movies, which I liked about it. Definitely did some great stuff with fire and water and all the elements. Couldn't give this higher praise. I was also surprised of how much like for me, I always knew Pixar can get it back, but like this was like the justification. It was like, yes, all right, you gotta win. Let's keep going. Let's do this. Especially from last year, which was Lightyear, and we weren't really that thrilled with Lightyear at the end of the day. No, unfortunately.
No. All right. My top 5. Coming in at number 5, Creed 3.
Wow.
Creed 3. Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut was absolutely phenomenal. My number 4, Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbird and Snakes. I think that was a given. I was such a fan of the book. I was happy. I was very pleasantly surprised. I was happy with the movie rendition, even though it is different from the book. My number 3 is Oppenheimer. For obvious reasons, it was it's a cinematic masterpiece. Number 2, Godzilla -1, a surprise hit, fantastic, a human story wrapped around Godzilla messing shit up. I mean, it was pretty great. And then my number 1, which was your number 10, which is Iron Claw. I mean, Zac Efron's best performance to date. You can listen to our review. We went into like so much detail about it. It was absolutely incredible.
It's crazy that like the most recent movie that we had both watched still was able to crack our top 10 after a long list of movies that came out in 2023. Like this one,
and that's how good it was.
Like you're right at the bitter end, and that goes the same for Creed 3. Like that movie came out back in March, and there was not a lot of movies that can compare to it throughout the year for you. So I think that's pretty crazy. I'm not surprised to see the Hunger Games on there for yourself as well, because you really, really enjoyed it. You were very deep into that episode of all the source material. So yeah, come to no surprise. And also, I really enjoyed Creed 3. I just feel like a lot of other movies were succeeded that a little bit. For me, but Creed 3 was honestly my number 11. Like I kicked it out of the top 10. It was an honorable mention for sure. But it's like after I compiled my list, it was like, oh, all right, well, one has to go, which is crazy because, well, I'll dive into that actually when I go over my top 5. And my top 5, number 5, The Holdovers. What a great movie.
Absolutely.
Like I saw it twice. It was in your top 10 as well, and it's like, wow, that what a fantastic film that was, and it's so heartfelt and so just such an easy watch to do, and you feel for these characters and everybody involved, and it's genuinely funny. It's one of those generally one of those movies where I was like against the movie with the trailer. I wasn't even gonna watch this if it wasn't for all of the reviews. This is a great example of a really bad trailer with a great movie inside of that.
100%.
100%. Air came out earlier this year. I love this movie. Everyone nailed it out of the park. Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Great to see Jason
Bateman.
Wow. Yes, thank you, Jason Bateman. Coming out of Ozark and seeing him in a movie again, because I feel like it's been a while. Viola Davis also nailed it. Even Chris Tucker had his moments as well. And the movie that really resonated with me, I've seen this movie twice this year, in 2023. And it was great the second time I watched it. And when a movie can do that twice, then for me, it's already up there for one of the best movies of the year. Such a great script. I really hope it gets something for the Oscars. It probably won't, but I would like to be an optimist and say maybe it might get something, because I think the script and how the acting was just fantastic, and Yeah, what a great story behind it. Number 3, Oppenheimer. I think that's needless to say. There's not much more praise we can give about this movie. Christopher Nolan delivered a masterpiece with Oppenheimer. I've seen this 3-hour movie twice now, and I want to see it again.
Yeah, I haven't seen it a second time around. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, it's on my Vudu, Ernesto. So if you ever have the itch, go right over there. Right. It's there. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. James Gunn. James Gunn perfectly ended these characters. And again, the same sentiment for Loki season 2. When you give characters that you've been following for so long a proper send off, you kind of give it its flowers, and you gave it the respect, not only for the audience, but you gave these characters so much respect to end them in a proper way. You're therefore respecting the audience for who have taken the time to invest yourselves in these characters. And, you can't help but give a little teary eye at the end of, when they kind of go their separate ways. And what a fantastic way to end this trilogy and these characters. I know we'll see some of them again, but not in this form. And that's okay. And also, this is James Gunn being like, if you love this, just wait till you see me over in DC. He literally dropped the mic as he left Marvel, which was fantastic. And last but not least, number 1 for me, Godzilla -1. You're number 2, surprisingly. I think it's funny we both put Oppenheimer at number 3. But Godzilla -1 was the movie I really was not expecting to enjoy from start to finish. It was thrilling. I saw it in 4DX, which enhanced my theater viewing experience, and one of the best I've had in a very long time. I was also with good company, and it was mixed with my theater experience as well as just how you decided to tell such a human story with Godzilla as your backdrop. But then when Godzilla's there, you are just terrified as everybody else there. And then you have this resounding story of da, 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 and it's yes, humans,
not just monsters.
Not just monsters. It was. This is a franchise with monsters first, then humans, and they flipped the script. And what a joyride that was, and definitely for me one of the best movies of the year. It's
fantastic.
But yeah. It's fantastic, and obviously for you as well, because it was very close. We were very close on a very high on our top.
I mean, I saw it and I told you, I was like, Matt, you need to go see this movie.
Yeah, you did. But there you go. That's our top films of 2023. It was an interesting year, and as I was going to dive into a little bit, typically when we do these top movies, I have a longer list than 10, and I have to reduce it to that. And I feel like this year, I don't know, maybe I'm more cynical. Maybe the movies didn't resonate with me that much, but I stopped at 11. I only had to get rid of one movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Were you in the same boat of
movies
kind of resonated?
I was either at 11 or 12.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like picking the top 10 was not that difficult.
No. I just think we have higher standards now.
I think so. We're getting old. We're becoming critics. But before we say goodbye, as we say goodbye to 2023, we just want to look ahead into 2024 and some of the big movies that are coming out this year. Most likely, we're going to be reviewing most of them, as we typically do. But Ernesto, just name a few. Which ones you might be looking forward to this year?
So on my list, I have for 2024. I'm looking forward to, let's see, we have Madam Web, Bob Marley, One Love, Dune Part 2, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I'm mildly interested in the Zendaya Challengers movie. It's got a weird premise.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to that. The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling. Strangers Chapter 1. That's a fantastic horror series that I'm looking forward to. But it's a prequel to the original Strangers movie that came out a couple years ago. Furiosa, Mad Max saga.
That looks good.
The John Wick movie Ballerina. Maybe Bad Boys 4. I don't know. A Quiet Place, Day One. Twisters. Deadpool 3, of course. Alien Romulus, I guess, is supposed to be coming out later this year. Kraven the Hunter, Beetlejuice 2, Wicked, Sonic 3, maybe Mufasa. And there's a movie at the end of the year called Nosferatu. Yeah, that one's. I'm looking forward to that one too.
Yeah, I think 2024 is going to be an interesting year. Out of all the movies you just said, for me, last year, the biggest movie I'm anticipated for was Indiana Jones, and I ended up being a letdown. But this year, and I know we say don't put high hopes in a movie, but you got to put it in one. And for me, it's Deadpool 3. I feel like there is a lot in this movie that can be a success. And it's one of those movies where like everything's right with it. There's you can do no wrong. Everything is in line to be a fantastic movie. So how can you be bad?
Very true.
And so I feel like,
and it's the only thing that Marvel's really got coming out this year, so that's good.
This is the only thing Marvel got coming out this year, movie wise. I mean, they have a few TV shows, but like this, there's so much hype around this, and I think Ryan Reynolds has done a great job in the marketing of this movie leading up to it. Hugh Jackman's back in a yellow suit. Come on, man!
The classic yellow, and then Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman just play really well off of each other.
Absolutely, even mainly off the screen, like this, they're just having fun with each other. Argyle is a movie that I'm looking forward to. Matthew Vaughn, based off the book that's not even released yet. They signed on the movie before the book is still not out, and the movie comes out on February 2nd.
Yeah.
So then what came first, the chicken or the egg at this point?
Very true.
Right.
And I think we discussed about that when when the news initially dropped. But the trailer looks good. Movie looks good.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I feel like I'm going to be slightly maybe disappointed with it because it looks a little hokey, but Matthew Vaughn has yet to disappoint me in a movie, so I'm looking forward to watch that. A movie I'm not really looking forward to, anything that Sony's putting out. Just saying, like all the Marvel stuff, like Venom 3, Madam Web, Kraven the Hunter. I don't know, man.
I have hopes for Kraven, but that's about it. Everything else, I'm kind of like, all right, well, it'll be good.
I will watch them. I'm not looking forward to it, but I will begrudgingly watch them as I do with Aquaman 2 eventually. Yeah. We have Doom Part 2 coming out, of course. This I think in March, or they might have switched around the dates a little bit. Kung Fu Panda 4 is coming. Am looking forward to Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. That looks really interesting. Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire is coming out. I believe they just pushed the date up a little bit, so now it's the end of March. That looks really wacky compared to what we got from -1 here. So looking forward to that. The Fall Guy also looks interesting. Rebel Moon, even though I haven't seen the first one yet, Part 2 is coming out on Netflix in April, so I have plenty of time to catch it. I know Ernesto is still not going to watch that movie. Nope. If from John Krasinski.
Yeah, that looks good.
The one about the imaginary friends. Did you catch that trailer?
No, but I've seen the poster for it. I'm gonna avoid the trailer as much as possible.
Yeah, it looks more on the kid-friendly side. Something that I'm not used to seeing him do. Also stars Ryan Reynolds. Very curious about that movie. I'm not sold on it yet. The trailer didn't sell me on it, but it's John Krasinski. He's gonna get my respect either way. Furiosa, like we mentioned earlier, Mad Max coming in with a bang, so I'm really looking forward to that. Ballerina we talked about. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, yeah.
That movie looks fantastic.
Yeah,
really good. One of my high anticipated lists, Inside Out 2.
Oh, that's right. That is also coming out this year.
Looks really good. Really, really good. We have Bad Boys 4. We'll see. We'll see. A Quiet Place Day One, not with John Krasinski, but still, really curious to see another director take on in this world. We have Despicable Me 4 and a Twisters sequel. We also have Beetlejuice 2, like you mentioned, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. We have Saw 11.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We'll see how they continue off of Saw 10. I really like Saw X. That doesn't mean that the next one's going to be great too, but we'll see where they go off of that. I'll definitely be watching it. Joker. Folie à Deux. Yes, with Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I forgot some good ones.
Yeah, a big movie coming out. I mentioned Venom 3, Gladiator 2. is also in the works from Ridley Scott. A weird sequel to come off of, but here we are. And Wicked. I think Wicked for me is a big one.
Yeah, it's gonna be fantastic.
Huge for the holiday season. It's primed for that. If Wonka's killing it right now with like the holiday musical, Wicked's gonna be a box office hit. It's got to
100%.
It's got to be that. And then Mufasa the Lion King. It has my intrigue because it's the original story, but we'll see how that plays out. And then I think they got pushed back, but Jordan Peele is expected to have a movie out this year. So, but I think I read that it got pushed to 2025 because it might have got off the 24 release date, but that's not confirmed. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. But Jordan Peele might come out with a movie, and who's not gonna not see a Jordan Peele movie? We also have that Karate Kid movie with Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, that's right.
It's supposed to have a December release. So yeah, a lot of interesting movies coming out in 2024, and most of them that we probably listed here, we're probably going to talk about. And just like last year, we're going to have our list, and then hopefully, maybe Ernesto, one of those movies we said might be in our top 10 next year.
I have a feeling there might be a few that will.
Yes. But there you go. That's all the show we have for you guys this week. Ernesto, tell our listeners what they look forward to next week.
Next week, we are going to be reviewing our foreign film, Society of the Snow. It's currently streaming on Netflix. It's getting a lot of high praise. I'm really looking forward to reviewing that one.
Yes, it is really high contender for Best International Film at the Oscars. And one of the reasons why we're watching it just hit Netflix, and it has been killing it with the critics. So definitely one of the reasons why we're reviewing it, and I'm looking forward to it. So come back next. Oh, hold on, missed a step. If you want more from us, there we go. Thank you, Ernesto. If you want more from us, follow us on all of our social media channels on Instagram and Threads at Box Office Bingers, our Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok page at Box Office Bingers, where you will find all of the shorts and reels, as well as on Instagram, and our X and Letterboxd page at Box Office Binger without the S. You find all of our reviews on our Letterboxd page. Thank each and every one of you for listening to us just talk about movies and have fun doing it. What a way to wrap up 2023 with all of these disappointments, but mainly some of the best stuff we've seen over the course of the year. And by next year, we'll do this all over again. How about that?
Right.
We'll just do that. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for listening to us to talk about movies. Really do appreciate it. Come back next week for more movie fun. You're not going to regret it as we talk about all of the award season and all the great stuff that comes with it. So you're not going to want to miss that. For that, I've been your host, Matt Diaz.
And Ernesto Santos. See ya.